Henry Ford is a name that many people know. He is famous for cars. He made cars that were not just for rich people. He believed everyone should be able to own a car, and he made it happen. This changed the world in many ways, especially how people travel and work. But Henry Ford's story is more than just cars. It is about a man with big ideas and a strong will. He grew up on a farm in the countryside. He didn't enjoy farm work. He was much more interested in machines and how they worked. He loved to fix things and invent new things. He always wanted to find better and faster ways to do things. One of his most important inventions was the assembly line. This was a new way of making cars in factories. Imagine a line of workers, and each worker does just one small job as the car moves along. This made car production much quicker and cheaper. The assembly line idea became very popular and changed factories for all kinds of products, not just cars. The Model T car was his most famous creation. It was simple to drive, strong, and affordable. Millions of people bought the Model T for the first time. Ordinary families could buy a car. This was revolutionary. It changed where people could live and work and how they spent their free time. However, Henry Ford's life had other sides too. He tried some projects that did not succeed. He tried to build a town in the jungle in Brazil called Fordlandia. It was meant to be a perfect town, but it failed. He also had some views that are now considered wrong and unacceptable. His relationship with Nazi Germany before the Second World War is also a complex and controversial part of his story. In this book, we will explore the life of Henry Ford. We will look at his amazing achievements in the car industry and manufacturing. We will learn about his inventions and how they changed the world. But we will also look at the less successful parts of his life, including his mistakes and controversial actions. We want to understand Henry Ford as a real person, with both his strengths and weaknesses. It is important to see the whole picture to understand his true impact on history. This is the story of a man who was both a genius and had flaws, and who left a lasting mark on the world. 2. Early life and first inventions. Henry Ford was born on a farm in Michigan in 1863. Life on the farm was hard work. From a young age, Henry did not like farm work. He was not interested in cows or crops. He liked machines. While his brothers and sisters worked in the fields, Henry stayed inside. Some people even said he was lazy. But Henry was not lazy. He was busy with other things. He loved to understand how things worked. He was fascinated by mechanics. He spent hours taking things apart and putting them back together. He used his mother's knitting needles to make tools. He used these tools like screwdrivers. He experimented with clocks and farm tools. He wanted to know how they worked. School was not interesting for Henry. He thought it was boring. He left school when he was only 15 years old. He preferred to learn by himself. He asked his brothers and friends to help him build machines. They made water wheels and small steam engines. Sometimes things exploded, but Henry learned from every experiment. When Henry was 13, his father gave him a pocket watch. This was a turning point. Henry quickly learned how to take the watch apart. Then he put it back together. He did this again and again. He became very good at fixing watches. Soon, people in town paid him to repair their watches. That same year, Henry had an important experience. He went to the city of Detroit with his father. There he saw something amazing, a vehicle without horses. It was a tractor powered by steam. Henry was very excited. He decided he wanted to make a vehicle like that himself. But this year was also sad. Henry's mother died. She was very important to him. He loved her very much. Her death made him very sad. He said life on the farm without her was like a broken watch. After this, Henry disliked farm life even more. He felt he was meant for something else. His father wanted him to take over the farm one day, but Henry did not want to be a farmer. When Henry was 16, he made a big decision. He left the farm and went to Detroit. This made his father very unhappy. In Detroit, Henry got a job in a factory, but he lost this job after only 6 days. He was alone in the city and without money. Surprisingly, his father helped him. His father knew someone who owned a machine shop. He helped Henry get a job there as a repairman. Even though his father was sad about Henry leaving the farm, he knew Henry was good with machines. Henry found a small room to rent. He also worked at night repairing jewelry. With these 2 jobs, he earned enough money. More importantly, as a repairman, he learned about many different machines. This was like his real education. He learned a lot about mechanics. After 9 months, Henry went back to the farm, but he did not stay for long. In 1882, a neighbor needed help with a steam engine. Henry had never used a steam engine before, but he said yes. He looked at the machine and started working. Soon, the steam engine was working. The neighbor was very happy and gave Henry a job. Later, a company called Westinghouse made steam engines. They heard about Henry. They offered him a job as a steam engine repairman. Henry traveled around Michigan and Ohio, fixing steam engines, but he did not forget his dream. In the winters, he tried to build his own steam-powered vehicle. He wanted to make a vehicle that could drive on roads, not just tracks. But steam engines were very heavy. Henry realized that steam might not be the best power for his road vehicle. 3. Finding the right engine. Henry was always interested in machines. He did not like working on the farm. He loved to fix things and understand how they worked. In his early years, he experimented with steam engines. He even built a small steam engine. He saw a steam-powered vehicle in Detroit and was very impressed. He wanted to build something similar, but steam engines were very heavy. Henry realized that they were not the best choice for a car that could drive on roads. He started to look for a better engine. He read about a new invention, the gasoline engine. At first, he did not think it was powerful enough. But then he had a chance to fix a gasoline engine. He saw how much energy it could produce. It was also much lighter than a steam engine. Henry understood that the gasoline engine was the answer. This was the engine for his car. Henry decided to go back to Detroit. He needed to learn more about gasoline engines. He got a job at the Edison Illuminating Company. Thomas Edison was a famous inventor and Henry admired him. Working for Edison was a great opportunity. His job was to repair machines. This gave him more experience with engines, including gasoline engines. He was good at his job and soon became the chief engineer. This new job paid him well, and it was not too demanding. This meant Henry had time to work on his own projects. He could finally focus on building his horseless carriage using a gasoline engine. At a company event, Henry met Thomas Edison. Edison encouraged Henry to continue working on his car idea. This support from Edison was very important to Henry. They became friends. In 1888, Henry married Clara. A few years later, in 1893, their son Edsel was born. That same year, on Christmas Eve, Henry had exciting news for Clara. He had built his first gasoline engine. It was very simple and only ran for a short time, but it was a start. He knew how to make the engine now. Next, he needed to build the car around it. For the next 3 years, Henry worked hard. He used old parts and scrap materials to build his car. In 1896, he finished his first vehicle. He called it the quadricycle. It was like a bicycle with 4 wheels and a gasoline engine. Early one morning on June 4, 1896, Henry took the quadricycle for its first drive. It worked. It moved quickly and reliably. It could even go up to 20 miles per hour. This was a big success for Henry. His dream of building a car was finally real. He sold the quadricycle to get money to build an even better car. He was ready to make his next model and improve his invention. 4. First companies and failures. After making his first engine and the quadricycle, Henry Ford wanted to build cars and sell them. He needed money to start a company. Some people liked his car and believed in his idea. They gave him money to start a business. In 1899, Henry started his first company. It was called the Detroit Automobile Company. Henry was the chief engineer. He wanted to make good cars for normal people. But the people who gave him money, the shareholders, had a different idea. They wanted to make expensive, fancy cars for rich people. They wanted to make money quickly. Henry and the shareholders argued a lot. Henry wanted to make cars of high quality. He wanted to take time to make them well. The shareholders wanted to make cars fast and sell them at high prices, even if the quality was not perfect. They disagreed about how to build cars and how much to sell them for. Because of these problems, the Detroit Automobile Company did not do well. After only 2 years, the company closed in 1901. This first company was a failure for Henry, but Henry did not give up. He still loved cars and wanted to build them. He started working on race cars. He thought if he could build a very fast race car, people would notice him. He built a light and fast car. It had a 2-cylinder engine and 26 horsepower. He raced this car and won. He won a race at the Detroit Driving Club. This was a success for Henry, and his cars started to get attention. Because of his racing success, some of the same people who invested in his first company wanted to work with him again. They started a new company called the Henry Ford Company. This was Henry's second company. The plan for this company was to make light cars for cities, but Henry was still very interested in racing. He wanted to build even faster race cars. Again, Henry and the investors had different ideas. The investors wanted to make normal cars and earn money. Henry wanted to focus on making race cars perfect, even if it cost money and time. The investors became unhappy again. They did not like that Henry was spending time and money on race cars instead of making cars to sell. They decided to change the company. They asked Henry to leave. Henry left the Henry Ford Company. He got some money and the rights to his name back. He also kept the designs for a race car he was working on. After Henry left, the Henry Ford Company changed its name. It became the Cadillac Automobile Company. This company became very successful later. Henry was out of his second company, but he was not finished. He went back to racing. He built an amazing race car called the Ford 999. This car was very fast. It won races and broke records. One time it went 56 miles per hour, which was very fast for that time. Henry's racing cars made him famous again. People started to see him as a great car maker. Even though his first two companies failed, Henry's racing successes were important steps towards his future success. 5. The Ford Motor Company and the Model T. In 1903, Henry Ford started his third company, called the Ford Motor Company. He had a big idea. He wanted to make cars that normal people could buy. At that time, cars were only for rich people. Henry wanted to change this. The first car from the new company was the Model A. It had 2 cylinders and 8 horsepower. It was sold for $750. At first, workers made cars in a factory in Detroit. They built each car by hand. This was slow, and they only made a few cars each day. Then Henry Ford saw something interesting in Chicago. He visited a place where they killed cows for meat. He watched how the cows moved on a line and each worker did one job. This was very fast and efficient. Henry thought this idea could work for making cars too. He used this idea to create the assembly line in his car factory. Instead of workers building whole cars, each worker did just one small job. The car moved along a line and workers added parts as it went by. This made making cars much faster. The factory became much more efficient, about 500% faster. Henry hired more workers, around 300 new people. Henry also decided to make all the car parts in his own factories. Before, car companies bought parts from other places, but Henry wanted to control everything. He made engines, wheels, and all other parts himself. This made production even faster. Before, it took about 2.5 days to make one car. With the new methods, it only took about 90 minutes. With these new ways of making cars, Henry was ready to create a new car for everyone. This car was called the Model T. Henry wanted the Model T to be cheap, strong, and easy to drive. And that's what it was. Every Model T was the same. They all used the same parts and they were all painted black. Henry also gave a book with the car so people could learn how to drive and fix it themselves. The Model T was a big success right away. People loved it. The Ford Motor Company made a lot of money and made even more cars. By 1914, more Ford cars were sold than all other car brands in America together. Soon, many cars on the roads were Model Ts. What was surprising was that Henry Ford made the Model T cheaper over time. Most companies make things more expensive. But Henry knew that if he made the Model T cheaper, more people would buy it. He wanted everyone to be able to own a car. Because of this, the Model T stayed the most popular car for many years. In total, more than 15 million Model Ts were sold. The Ford Motor Company and the Model T changed how cars were made and who could own them. 6. Changes at work. Working in Henry Ford's factory was hard. People worked long hours and did the same job all day. Many workers did not like this. They left their jobs quickly. This was a big problem for the Ford Company. It cost a lot of money to train new workers all the time. Henry Ford thought about this problem a lot. He wanted to find a way to keep workers happy and working for his company. He had a surprising idea. In 1914, he made a big change. He decided to pay his workers much more money. He doubled their pay. Before, they earned about $2.50 a day. Now they would earn $5 a day. This was a lot of money at that time, but that was not all. Henry Ford also made the working day shorter. Workers used to work 9 hours a day. He reduced it to 8 hours, and he did something else very new. He gave workers 2 days off each week, Saturday and Sunday. This was called the 5-day work week. Most people at that time worked 6 days a week. Many people were shocked by these changes. The people who owned parts of the Ford company, the shareholders, were very angry. They thought Henry Ford was wasting money. They believed he should keep wages low and make more profit for them. They argued with him and even took him to court. They wanted to stop him from giving workers so much money and time off. Henry Ford believed he was doing the right thing. He thought that if workers earned more and had more free time, they would work better. He also knew that higher wages would attract more people to work for Ford. He was right. Many people wanted to work for Ford because of the good pay and shorter hours. To make sure he could continue with his ideas, Henry Ford wanted to have more control of his company. He used his own money to buy more shares in the Ford Motor Company. In the end, he had more than half of the shares. This meant he had the main control of the company. Now he could make his own decisions without being stopped by other shareholders. These changes at Ford had a big impact. First, workers were happier. They earned more money and had more time for their families and for themselves. Second, more people wanted to work in factories. Detroit, the city where Ford factories were, grew very quickly. Many people moved there to find work at Ford. Third, other companies had to change too. To keep their workers, they also had to start paying better wages and offer shorter working hours. Henry Ford's changes at work were very important. They changed how factories worked and how workers were treated. His ideas about wages and working hours became normal in many industries. It was a big change for workers and for the whole world of work. 7. Later years and problems. In 1919, Henry Ford gave his son, Edsel, the job of president of the Ford Motor Company. But even though Edsel was the president, Henry was still in charge. He made all the big decisions. Edsel had new ideas for the company. He wanted to make new car models, but Henry did not agree. Henry was very hard on Edsel and often shouted at him. He believed the Model T was still the best car and people did not need anything else. However, times were changing. Other car companies started making cars that looked more modern and comfortable. People started to buy these new cars instead of the Model T. Sales of the Model T went down. Finally, Henry had to agree to make a new car. They created the Model A. It was a better car with different colors, but by then, Ford was not the #1 car company anymore. Then, the Great Depression happened. This was a very difficult time for everyone. Many people lost their jobs and Ford had to close some factories. The company also had to pay workers less money. During this time, workers wanted to join unions. Unions are groups that help workers get better pay and working conditions. But Henry Ford did not like unions. He did not want his workers to join them. He was against workers organizing themselves. When workers protested for their rights, things became violent. Police attacked the workers, and some workers were killed. This event became known as the Ford Massacre. Henry Ford also started a project in Brazil called Fordlandia. He wanted to grow rubber trees there to make rubber for his cars. He also wanted to build a perfect town for his workers in the middle of the jungle, but Fordlandia was not successful. The weather was bad and there were diseases. The workers were not happy with the strict rules in the town. The project failed and Ford lost a lot of money. In his later years, Henry Ford also had very strong negative opinions about Jewish people. He blamed them for many problems in the world. He started a newspaper that printed articles against Jewish people. These ideas were very harmful and wrong. Some people, like Adolf Hitler, admired Henry Ford because of these ideas. This is a very dark part of Henry Ford's life story. 8. Legacy. After many years, Henry Ford and his son Edsel both passed away. Edsel died first, which was very sad for Henry. Henry Ford died a few years later in 1947. Even after Henry Ford was gone, the Ford Motor Company continued. The company had new leaders after him. Many people took charge over the years, but the company stayed successful. Ford continued to make new cars and sell them around the world. The company changed, but it was still strong. Henry Ford is remembered for many important things. He changed the way cars were made. He invented the assembly line. This was a new idea for factories. It made making things much faster and cheaper. Because of this, cars became more affordable. Ordinary people could buy cars, not just the rich. This changed how people lived. People could travel more easily and live further from their work. But Henry Ford's story is not just about good things. He had some bad ideas too. He did not like workers' unions. Unions are groups of workers who try to get better pay and working conditions. Henry Ford did not want his workers to join unions. He also had very negative views about Jewish people. He wrote and said unfair and hateful things about them. This is a dark part of his legacy. Because of his company's actions during the Second World War, using forced labor, the Ford Company had to face the consequences later. This reminds us that even big companies must be responsible for their past actions. Today, the Ford Motor Company is still a big name in cars. They are now working on new types of cars, like electric vehicles. This is a big change for the car industry. Ford is trying to be modern and think about the future. In conclusion, Henry Ford had a huge impact on the world. He was an innovator and a businessman. He made cars available to many. However, we must also remember the negative aspects of his life, like his prejudice and his actions against workers. His legacy is a mix of innovation and controversy. We need to understand both the good and the bad to truly understand his place in history.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.